Have I ever played any retro games? Yes, I have. I think this is a little too... I think the volume's still a little too, Okay, you should be able to hear me perfectly now. Okay, I need to go live. I went live on TikTok already. Let me check the audio. You can barely hear me? Okay, let me scoot in closer. Can you hear me now? For some reason on Twitch, the volume is really low. On TikTok, it's fine. Weird. Okay, I'm really close to the microphone now. Wow, you've been talking directly into the microphone. The volume is still low. I wonder why. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so we're gonna be doing Steno Jig right now. I'm still a little quiet. I don't know what's going on. It sounds perfect on TikTok, honestly. Hello, next T. Doing finger drills first.
Ticked _off Patrick just redeemed yeehaw.
Thank you for the yeehaw. I'm yelling now. What's happening? I'm doing stenography practice. Hopefully you can hear me well on YouTube. I'm having trouble with Twitch. These are what... I mean, without the music, I can hear you. Okay, I'll just, lower the music volume. Well, then you can barely hear the music. What is this stream even about? It's stenography practice. How am I quieter? I don't know what's going on with the volume on Twitch. It sounds fine on TikTok, I promise. Let me listen to myself. Okay, I muted the game. Can I pronounce some words in Spanish? I mean, I muted the music. Okay, it sounds fine now. I guess it was just the music. I could try to pronounce some words in Spanish, but I wouldn't know what they were. It's too bad I don't have the music playing. It can be a little boring without the music. Just watching me do the finger drills. EPWO.
Ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed autism creature.
I'll try and get through these finger drills real fast. I say as I go as slow as possible. Thank you for the autism creature, by the way. Okay, how many do I have left? I only got 4 left. Okay. APHASTRO. Damn. These are so tough. I forgot to turn on my light. Let me do that in a few seconds. The inverse is not much better. Hello, Wakfu. Okay, this is the last one for the left hand. Right hand? Right hand. Well, shoot. What am I doing? My hands are not in the right position. Okay. Having an easier time with my right hand already. $115. I kind of didn't feel like streaming today, but since it's just steno practice, I was like, what the heck, why not? It'll just be 2 hours, why not? These finger drills are killing me. So how have y'all been doing today? I had to go get blood work done today. My spouse couldn't take me, so I had to take a lift to and back from the lab core. This one I'm making a lot of mistakes on. got 12 more to do. And then I will be released from this hell that is finger drills. My fingers are not long enough for this one. I'm doing great, just waiting for a game to download and play Minecraft while I wait. Okay, what game are you gonna play? Fortnite, okay. This one's a little easier. It'd be a lot easier if I would remember to do the L. I said it was a little easier, and now I'm immediately messing up. There. This one's tough. I have to like think about what I'm doing. When will I be released from this? This one's a little easier. Oh, now I'm messing up. Do not think about what you're doing. Don't think. Only do. I am almost done. For some reason they feel like they go on forever. For some reason, StreamerBot released some messages in YouTube chat and Twitch. I think that was my slowest I've done so far. How many left? Two more left. And then I can do some other stuff. Go on for so long. They're so short. Okay, last one. What the heck? Okay, I'm released. I'm done with the finger drills. Finally. Okay, I can do most common words now. Pixelated Owl, how are you doing? That one was 93 words per minute. Not very fast. Okay, let me do the next batch. I'm just doing some drills before I tackle the legal terminology textbook. Doing good now that I'm getting some food in, haven't eaten all day. Oh, I felt the same because I had to get lab work done today. So once I was able to eat, I felt a lot better. I'm doing okay right now. Wow, I'm going slow today. This is DS Spawn? What are you talking about? Okay, that one was 115 words per minute. That's a lot better. That one was 117. Okay, after this, I do the quotes. Okay, once I'm done with this and I'm doing the quotes, I'm actually gonna read them out loud. Because I'm tired of the silence. It's too bad I can't have the music playing for Twitch because of OBS. Okay, short reels. $143. We don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. Let me do that again. We don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. I keep typoing. Why does it keep coming out as happily? Oh, because I keep tapping the L. Okay, that's good enough for me. I don't ever want to feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. Perhaps if you know you are insane, then you are not insane. Few things are harder to put up with than the annoyance of a good example. There, example. Put up with than the annoyance of a good example. Now is the time for resting. Some things are ill to hear when the world's in shadow. Now is the time for... What the fuck? Why does it keep... Is the time for resting. Some things are ill to hear when the world's in shadow. Today's accomplishments THRGH. Try that again. That one's tough. I am speed. 1 winner, 42 losers. I eat losers for breakfast. Perhaps one did not want to be loved so much as to be understood. Live as if you'd drop dead in 10 seconds. Proximity to power deludes some into thinking they wield it. Let me drink some water. I never realize how much I like being home unless I've been somewhere really different for a while. Everything that we did and built and wrote and thought and discovered will be forgotten. 163. You have to keep your mind as wide open as your eyes because almost nothing is what it seems. Rummaging in our souls, we often dig up something that ought to have lain there unnoticed. A day without a friend is like a pot without a single drop of honey left inside. Everyone is here, but you're nowhere near. No, you're nowhere near. You feel an evil presence watching you. Do you ever get down on your knees and thank God you know me and have access to my dementia? The bully who oppressed your youth isn't at the table with us. Perhaps he's long dead. No one's gonna drag you up to get into the light where you belong. But where do you belong? The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. Okay, once it hits 6 o'clock, so in 20 minutes, I'm gonna move on to the textbook. Here in town, there's only she who is beautiful as me. So I'm beautiful as P. I'm making plans. Oh my god. No! That was horrible. Here in town, there's only she who is beautiful as me, so I'm making plans to woo and marry Belle. You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. If you only do what you can do, you will never be more than you are now. 181. Any story worth its salt can handle a little shaking up. 146. Believe in one thing too much and you have no room for new ideas. 168. Any story worth its salt can handle a little shaking up. I just feel like I need to save everyone, to redeem myself. It is at this point in our story that along comes a spider. It is at this point, is this it? How do I write at this point? Thought I had it. Okay, there was no O in it, that's why. It is at this point in our story that along comes a spider. Whoops. I exited out by accident. Sometimes I feel like love doesn't actually exist. It's just pheromones playing tricks on people. Sometimes when he brushed, he felt like he was scrubbing at the very crust of his soul. 107. Whatever you lose, you'll find it again. But what you throw away, you'll never get back. There's only one person in the world who's going to decide what I'm going to do, and that's me. 164. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. 136. You'd think at a certain point all these atypical things would amount to a typical something. Forgive me for all the things I did, but mostly for the ones I did not. From there to here, you have a solution to the quietness. Okay. It's only quiet on Twitch and YouTube. It's a shame. heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. I forgot to write essential again. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is LGS is invisible to the eye. We know what we are, but not what we may be. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. There is something about yourself that you don't know. 219. Frustrations will not last forever. Nobody can keep on going without some measure of reward. It does not do to leave a live dragon out of your calculations if you live near him. A man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. I love deadlines. I love the whooshing noise they make as they go by. 146. He died doing what he wanted, no matter what, right? I bet he was happy. This reversing the flow of time, doesn't us being here now mean it never happened? While monsters are mostly made of magic, human beings are mostly made of water. Undertale. Everybody thinks they are protecting and defending their people, but we are all people, right? 177. We don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. 156. I can't believe I used to love the first day of school. You can have success or excuses, but you can't have them both. It's easy not to abuse your power when you don't actually have any power. But on this particular day, I did not like the color of the sky. Someone has to leave first. This is a very old story. There is no other version of this story. Nothing looks more suspicious in America than someone who's actually prepared to make something. When the snow falls and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Wow, I messed that whole thing up. Once you've been loved once and have loved once, you cannot forget it. 140. I would rather spend one lifetime with you than face all the ages of this world alone. Rejection, I have found, can be the only antidote to delusion. 125. People who can't throw something important away can never hope to change anything. 180. A real artist must never be afraid of what other people are gonna say about him. The shape of the wedding ring has two meanings. One is eternity. The other is completeness. Just... Whoops, I accidentally clicked out again. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. And every time I've held a rose... Next one. Human suffering anywhere concerns men and women everywhere. I found I had to love myself the way I wanted you to love me. 158. Music can name the unnameable and communicate the unknowable. Today's the first day of the end of your lives. This is a modern fairy tale. No happy endings, no wind in our sails. Music is a science that would have us laugh, sing, and dance. When you become untouchable, you are unable to touch. So please don't forget to call me just to let me know you are doing okay miles away from me. It's the job that's never started as takes longest to finish, as my old gaffer used to say. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. People have an annoying habit of remembering things they shouldn't. You will never be able to love anybody else until you love yourself. Know thyself, know thy enemy. All I hear right now is Baby Shark being blasted upstairs. So I can't live with you or without you, and don't seem to know my own mind. Welcome to the Caribbean, love. I am almost done with quotes. Gentlemen, you have undertaken to cheat me. I won't sue you, for the law is too slow. I'll ruin you. I messed up that whole sentence. You can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore. Oh, and when you held my hand, I knew that it was now or never. Those were the best days of my life. To be fond of dancing was a certain step towards falling in love. Now is the time for resting. Some things are ill to hear when the world's in shadow. Solitary trees, if they grow at all, grow strong. Going outside is highly overrated. I don't talk things, sir. I talk the meaning of things. The secret of a good old age is simply an honorable pact with solitude. And now my bitter hands cradle broken glass of what was everything. It doesn't matter who you are or what you look like, so long as somebody loves you. Just because you have the... Damn it, Harry Potter again. War is raging, chasing our crazy dreams. Delicacy, and dignity. I can't seem to spell either one of them. You need something, and if you want to call it a friend, you can call it a friend. Remember, we're madly in love, so it's alright to kiss me anytime you feel like it. Message deleted, haha. He felt like he was scrubbing at the very crust of his soul. I do not wish any reward, but to know I have done the right thing. The truth, it is a... Whoops. But I can't imagine life without breathless moments breaking me down. No one knows what the future holds. That's why its potential is infinite. You can have success or excuses, but you can't have them both. People's lives don't end when they die. It ends when they lose faith. If you want truth, you should begin by giving it. One thing or an infinite number of things dies with every man's or woman's death. Are you trying to impress me? What would impress me more is if you never did that again. I'm in deep with this girl, but she's out of her mind. We all need something to live for. Lights up, and they know who you are. Know who you are. Do you know who you are? What's morality? It's the difference between what is right and what you can rationalize. You move like I want to see like your eyes do. I think it's that's the end of Steno Jig. Let's do the textbook now. So I'm in the middle of let me move stuff around. Okay, so I'm in the middle of the chapter on intentional torts. Fraud. The tort of fraud or fraudulent misrepresentation, which is also known as deceit, occurs when one person, by false representation, of material facts, induces another to act, thereby suffer a financial, induces another to act and thereby suffer a financial loss. To recover for this tort, the plaintiff must allege and prove all of the following 5 elements. A misrepresentation of a material existing fact, made with knowledge of its falsity, made with the intent that it be relied on, that it was reasonably relied on, and damages. To be actionable, the misrepresentation, parentheses, false, oh my god, false or deceptive statement or act must be of a material existing act. It is not actionable.
Ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed clap attack.
Thank you for the clap attack in the future. The misrepresentation must be made with knowledge of its falsity. This act is known as the scienter. I don't know how to pronounce that. Let me look it up. Scienter. Knowledge of the nature of one's act or omission, or of the nature of something in one's possession that is often a necessary element of an offense. Also, intent to engage in particular, especially criminal, conduct. Excuse me. I don't know how to pronounce it. Scienter, maybe? Enter. Let me look it up in my dictionary instead. Enter. Okay. Requirement. Which is from the Latin word meaning knowingly. End quote. This element of deceit may be satisfied if the person who made the misrepresentation had actual knowledge of its falsity or made it recklessly without regard to its truth or falsity. Okay, ad break is starting soon. 30 seconds. In some states, it may also be satisfied if the person who made the misrepresentation actually had no knowledge of its falsity, but was susceptible of knowledge. That is, was in a position which he or she expected to know. All right, going into an ad break now. I might not make it to the audiobook today. Can't believe I did Steno Jig for an hour. I should have really cut it out to 30 minutes. I'm not good at managing my time. A minute and 30 seconds left. Ad break almost over. 1 minute left. Thirty seconds left. Oh, okay. Ad break is finishing. To illustrate the latter, in some states, if a buyer asks a homeowner who is selling a house, does the house have termites? And the homeowner does not know whether it does or not, but replies, no, it does not have termites. The court will hold that the homeowner was susceptible of such knowledge and therefore satisfied the knowledge requirement. The person who makes the misrepresentation must intend that the other person rely on it. Suppose, for example, that A made false representations in order to induce a sale of the goods to B. Then B sold the goods to C. C would have no right of action against A for the misrepresentations because A did not intend that C rely on them. In addition, the person to whom the misrepresentation was made must be reasonably rely on it. Must reasonably rely on it. Excuse me, I added a B. Suppose, for example, that a prospective buyer of a house says to the owner, does the house have termites? And the owner replies, no, it does not have termites. If the buyer before buying has the house inspected by a termite inspector who negligently fails to discover termites that are actually in the house, the buyer could not sue the seller for deceit because the buyer, having done an independent inspection, did not rely on the seller's misrepresentation. To recover from deceit, the injured party must prove that he or she write he or she again. He or she suffered some damage, financial loss, as a result of the misrepresentation. Defamation. Defamation is the wrongful act of damaging someone's character or reputation by making or repeating a false statement about that person. It is divided into two classes. Hello, Jacob. Libel and slander. Libel is defamation that is communicated by writing, drawing, photograph, television program, internet posting, or other broadcast-based defamation. Jacob, I said hello already. Including defamation made on the radio. Slander is oral defamation, notwithstanding that defaming. I'm doing stenography practice. Someone by spoken word or radio or television is libel. To be actionable, that is, to furnish legal ground for a lawsuit, both libel and slander must be communicated. I'm going really slow today. Just noticing. Communicated to a third person. Unless a third person hears or sees the defamatory material, no one can sue. Defamatory, maybe? Libel. Because of its more longer lasting form of defamation, books, for example, and its ability to reach more people, TV and the internet, for example, libel is considered to be more serious than slander. It is actionable per se. That is in and of itself. And therefore, a suit can be brought in all instances of libel. Slander. Slander, conversely, is not actionable per se. It is actionable only in the following situations. 1, when the injured person can prove that he or she suffered special damages that are capable of exact dollar amount calculations. All right, calculations again. Let me look it up. Calculations. From the slanderous statements. 2, when someone is falsely accused of committing a crime of moral turpitude. Immorality. 3, when someone is falsely accused of having a contagious disease, such as leprosy. AIDS or venereal disease. Or 4, when someone makes a false statement that injures a person in his or her business, profession, or trade. Privileges and defenses to defamation. The law gives privileges to certain people, making them immune from suit or slander and libel. Judges, lawyers, and witnesses, while they are participating in trials, and members of the legislature during its sessions, have an absolute privilege against defamation suits. They cannot be sued for libel or slander. Newspapers have a qualified privilege when they report about public events and matters of public concern. Actual malice on the part of the newspaper must be proved for someone to recover damages from the newspaper in such cases. Public figures such as actors, actresses, and politicians must prove that the defamatory material was spoken or written with actual malice before they recover damages against others for defamation. Truth is an absolute defense against libel or slander. Regardless of how it may harm someone's reputation, a truthful statement is not defamatory. It might, however, qualify as an invasion of privacy, the tort discussed in the next section. Invasion of privacy.
Jazz at Dell Games just redeemed Hydrate.
Thank you for the Hydrate, Jazz. The right of privacy encompasses the right to be left alone, the right to be free from uncalled for publicity, and the right to live without unreasonable interference by the public in private matters. A violation of the right of privacy is known as the invasion of privacy. Using someone's photograph without permission for advertising purposes, wiretapping someone's house, and publishing someone's medical or financial condition are examples of invasion of privacy. Invasion of privacy has 4 distinct types of claims. 1, intrusion of solitude. Keeping on someone in a private location. 2, appropriation. How do I appropriation again? Okay. Appropriation of identity. Using the likeness or name of another, often a celebrity, without permission. 3, public disclosure of private facts revealing sensitive and private information of an individual that is not of public concern and which is offensive to make public. 4, false light, the media's public disclosure of information about someone that, while not technically false, creates a misleading impression about the individual. As internet use text messaging, and social media have become more prevalent, examples of online invasion of privacy have increased. But whether the internet is used as the conduit for libel or invasion of privacy, online service providers, e.g., Google, Yahoo, Facebook, are immune from being sued due to Section 230 of the Communication.
Ticked_off_Patrick just redeemed posture check.
Posture has been checked. I've been setting up the entire time. Due to Section 230 of the Communications Act, Decency Act. How do I write decency? Fair Act. example, if someone used their Facebook account to libel a former friend, the victim can sue the Facebook user who posted the false statements, but not Facebook itself. Malicious prosecution. The right of action for the tort of malicious prosecution arises when one person has unsuccessfully brought criminal or civil charges against another with malice and without probable cause. The one against whom the original charges were brought may bring a tort suit for malicious prosecution against the person who brought the original charges. To bring such a suit, all of the following must be proved. 1. Criminal or civil charges were brought by the defendant against the plaintiff. 2. The plaintiff was acquitted, that is, discharged from accusation. Okay, accusation. 3, the defendant brought the charges maliciously. And without probable cause. That was short. Trespass. The intentional... How do I write intentional again? Come on. Intentional and unauthorized entry on the land of another is called trespass. Suit may be brought against a trespasser by the one who is in possession of the land, whether or not he or she has suffered any damages from the trespass. It has been held to be a trespass to do any of the following: step on another's land without permission, hit a golf ball into another's airspace, and string a wire into another's airspace. Trespass to personal property is a tort called trespass de boni asportati. Trespass de boni asportati. Trespass for goods carried away. To recover for this tort, it is necessary to prove that actual damages occurred as a result of the trespass. Trespass is an example of a wrongful action that is both a tort and a crime. Conversion. Conversion is the wrongful exercise of dominion and control over the personal property in the possession of another. It is different from trespass in that it is using another's property as though it belonged to the wrongdoer. rather than interfering with the owner's possession, as in trespass. Some examples of conversion are the misdelivery of goods by a carrier, theft of goods, failure to return borrowed goods, and sale of goods belonging to another without authority. Hello, Kane. Nuisance and waste. The torts of nuisance involves the use of one's property in a way that causes annoyance, inconvenience, or discomfort to another. The emission of smoke, offensive odors, and loud noises often generate nuisance lawsuits. Airlines are sometimes sued, for example, by people who live near airports because of the loud noise, smoke, and odors of the planes taking off. The tort is called a public nuisance when the disturbance affects the community at large, and a private nuisance when it disturbs one neighbor only. Another tort called waste is the abuse or destructive use of property that is in one's rightful possession. A tenant who damages the landlord's property, for example, commits the tort of waste. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. Let's see how long the next chapter is. Negligence and product liability. Oh, it's not that long. It's just 3 pages long. Anti-interrogatory. The tort doctrine that makes landowners liable when children trespass on the landowner's property and are injured because of the children's inability to appreciate the risk posed by their trespass is called A, attractive nuisance doctrine, B, contributory negligence. Let's say regs, yes. C, comparative negligence doctrine. D, assumption of the risk doctrine. Learning objectives. Identify the elements of a negligence action. 2, explain how a landowner's duty of care been applied to those who might be on the landowner's property. Explain the doctrine of res ipsa loquitur. Categorize. How do I write categorize? I'm not figuring it out. Categorize the types of compensatory damages. Summarize the concept of proximate cause. Identify 5 key defenses to a negligence claim. Compare and contrast contributory negligence and comparative negligence. Explain the defense of assumption of risk. Compare and contrast a statute of limitations with a statute of repose. Summarize what product liability is. Okay. Negligence occurs when one person causes a loss or injury because of his or her own carelessness. It is an unintentional tort and is the subject matter of more lawsuits than any other tort. Negligence is generally defined as the failure to use the amount of care and skill that a reasonably prudent person would have used under the same circumstances and conditions. Elements of negligence. To win a negligence case, the injured party must prove all of the following. 1. Duty of care owed by the defendant to the plaintiff. 2. Breach of duty, parentheses, negligent act, and parentheses. 3. Damages. And 4. Causation. Duty of care. In order to be liable to another for a harmful action or inaction, the person who commits the harm must first owe a duty of care to the injured party. Although difficult to define, a duty of care is a legal obligation of carefulness or prudence owed to those who are likely or foreseeably likely to be injured by one's conduct. For instance, a parent owes a duty of care to his or her child, but not to someone else's child generally. But duties change according to circumstances. So if that parent's child has a friend over for a visit, then the parent has now voluntarily undertaken a duty of care to the other child. A duty of care is generally created through relationships parent to child through statute, drivers of cars to others on the road or in the paths, or through contract. Lifeguards employed to keep watch over swimmers. Until recently, the law recognized different degrees of care owed to different people. The duty of care owed to a business invitee, one invited on the premises for a business or a commercial purpose, was to refrain from ordinary negligence, the want of ordinary care. The duty of care owed to a gratuitous guest, one invited on the premises for non-business purposes, was to refrain from gross negligence. Gross negligence is extreme negligence. Under this older legal doctrine, a gratuitous guest could not recover for damages caused by a host's ordinary negligence. The duty of care owed to a trespasser and a bare licensee, a person allowed on another's premises by operation of law, such as a firefighter or a police officer, was to refrain from willful, wanton, and reckless conduct. This conduct, also called culpable negligence, is the intentional intention. I don't know why I can't seem to get this one in my head. Intentional commission of an act that a reasonable person knows would cause injury to another. It is more serious than gross negligence. Some states have eliminated the different degrees of care discussed above. Instead, they hold that property owners owe a duty to use reasonable care toward everyone who is rightfully on their premises. This degree of care is one that a reasonable person would have used under the circumstances then known. Because a trespasser is not rightfully on the premises, the duty of care owed to such a person is to refrain from willful, wanton, and reckless conduct. One exception to the principle regarding the degree of care owed to trespassers is the attractive nuisance doctrine, which protects children who are enticed to trespass on another's property because of an attraction that exists there, such as a swimming pool in a backyard. In states that follow the doctrine, property owners owe a duty to refrain from ordinary negligence rather than simply from willful, wanton, and reckless conduct. For children who are attracted to the premises by a condition that normally attracts children, even though the children are trespassers. For instance, Florida has an attractive nuisance statute that declares discarded or abandoned refrigerators, ice boxes, cloth washers or dryers, and other airtight units with the doors still attached to be attractive nuisances to children, and another statute makes it a misdemeanor to leave on one's property such discarded units with the doors still attached. Breach of duty. Negligent act. Whether or not an act is negligent and therefore breaches the duty of care owed to the plaintiff is normally a question of fact to be decided by the fact finder rather than a question of law to be decided by the judge. The fact finder or trier of fact is the jury in a jury trial or the judge in a non-jury trial. The fact finder must ask the question, did the defendant do or fail to do that which a reasonably prudent, cautious person would have done under the same circumstances and conditions? End quote. If the defendant is a child, the fact finder must ask, did the defendant exercise the degree of care that a reasonably prudent child of the same age, intelligence, and experience would have exercised? Hello, I be back. Hello, Patrick. We got 13 minutes left in the stream. I didn't get to the audiobook. I'm still doing the legal terminology textbook. Would have exercised under the same circumstances and conditions. If the defendant is a physician, the fact finder must ask, did the defendant exercise a degree of care and skill of the average qualified physician considering the advances in the medical profession? End quote. Negligence of a physician, attorney, or other professional is commonly referred to as malpractice. In many states, medical expert testimony is required for the plaintiff to establish medical malpractice, and in some states, a plaintiff must first present her or his claim to a state-run medical review panel before filing a lawsuit. Doctrine of res ipsa loquitur. To recover for negligence, evidence must be introduced by the plaintiff to prove the negligent act of the defendant. Sometimes the plaintiff has no evidence to prove that a negligent act was committed by the defendant. However, the plaintiff can prove that he or she was injured by an act that normally does not occur unless someone is negligent, such as in a rear-end automobile collision. The doctrine of res ipsa loquitur, which means the thing speaks for itself, can sometimes be used by the plaintiff when he or she cannot prove an actual negligent act of the defendant, but can argue that the type of injury suffered normally would not occur unless the defendant was negligent. Under this doctrine, the mere fact that an act occurred can be used by the jury or by the judge in a non-jury trial to infer that the defendant was negligent. When the doctrine is used, the case can go to the jury if it is probable, not just possible, that a negligent act of the defendant caused the plaintiff's injury. The first and therefore most famous case to apply this doctrine was Byrne v. Bodle, a British case from 1863. A man was walking down the street and, out of nowhere, a barrel of flour fell on his head. He had no way of proving that the warehouse next to the sidewalk and from whose second floor window the barrel came was negligent in storing its barrels, but the court ruled the plaintiff could allege that such a thing wouldn't have happened had it not been for the warehouse's negligence. That's a strange case. A barrel of flour fell on his head. That must have hurt. I'd sue too. Absolute liability. People who handle dangerous instrumentalities such as explosives and wild animals are liable, regardless of fault, for injuries to others caused by the dangerous item. Such liability, regardless of fault, is known as absolute or strict liability. Damages. To recover for negligence, the plaintiff must prove damages. That is, some actual loss. Even though the defendant may have committed a negligent act, the plaintiff cannot recover unless he or she suffers damages. Various kinds of damages are discussed in Chapter 18. The amount of compensatory damages, sometimes called Actual damages that the plaintiff can recover is the amount of money that will place the plaintiff in the same position that he or she was in before the negligent act occurred. Special damages are measurable, quantifiable amounts of losses and include the cost of hospital and medical treatment and any lost wages. General damages are money meant to compensate the plaintiff for pain and suffering What the heck? I forgot how to write parentheses. Whatever. Physical discomforts and emotional trauma that she or he endured. When someone dies as a result of another's negligence, the suit that it's brought is called a wrongful death action. This suit is brought by the decedent's personal representative against the negligent party for the benefit of the decedent's heirs. Such suits are governed by wrongful death statutes found in each state. Causation. To recover for negligence, the plaintiff must prove causation. That is, that the negligent act of the defendant was a direct and proximate cause, the dominant or primary cause of the plaintiff's injuries. In determining proximate cause, the important issue is whether the harm that resulted from the conduct was foreseeable. Known in advance, anticipated when it took place. Proximate cause is about that which is probable rather than that which is possible, because anything is possible. I know. So the more likely or probable an outcome, the more foreseeable it is. Suppose a bar serves liquor to a clearly intoxicated person who, after leaving the bar, negligently drives into another car, killing that driver. Even before statutes were passed making the server liable, those laws are often called dram shop laws. One can see that the bartender's act of serving a drink to the intoxicated person was a proximate cause of death. A jury could conclude the bartender could have foreseen that the intoxicated person would be driving home and might cause death or injury to another. Conversely, the plaintiff cannot recover damages if a break in the chain of causation exists. For example, when a car owner leaves the key in a car, which is a statutory violation in some states, and a thief steals the car and injures someone while driving negligently, The car owner's act of leaving the key in the car is not the direct and proximate cause of the injury. Rather, the negligent act of the thief was a supervening cause. That is a new occurrence that becomes the proximate cause of the injury. The injured party cannot recover from the car owner. These types of superseding, intervening causes are determined based on the uniqueness of each fact pattern, but the doctrine is consistent. Where an unforeseen, unanticipated event follows the defendant's negligent conduct and injures the plaintiff, that subsequent event can mitigate or even eliminate the defendant's liability. Okay, how long is this? Wow, I didn't even get to product liability. I'll finish the rest off stream. All right. Who am I gonna raid? Why not Alice Moonflower? She is playing emblems. Oh, non-binary coded games. Okay, she's still doing that. That's cool. Alice Moonflower. Tomorrow's Digimon. See y'all for Digimon. Till then, goodbye.